Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, pull out the key insights, and we'll give you that shortcut to being really well informed. Today we are plunging into a film that's definitely a cult classic, one that still shocks and still mesmerizes people. Dario Argento's 1977 film, Suspiria.
A big one.
Yeah. And you've given us these excerpts from Suspiria, visual horror and the misogyny debate, which honestly offers a really fascinating, though sometimes, pretty unsettling look at this film.
It's definitely polarizing.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to try and unpack why Suspiria holds such a significant, yet, like you said, contested place in horror history.
Right.
We want to look at how it gets that signature, unsettling atmosphere through its very unique visual style. And we also need to, tackle the serious, long-running debate about how women are depicted in Argento's work. It's a deep dive that promises cinematic brilliance, but also some pretty challenging questions. So let's get into it.
Okay, so Suspiria. We're talking 1977 Italian production. Dario Argento directed it. His brother Claudio and father Salvatore produced. It runs about 97 minutes.
Okay.
Now, Argento himself, he's widely seen as, a cult horror director, but he's often struggled, I'd say, to get that broad acceptance in, serious academic or critical circles.
Not quite mainstream critical darling status.
Exactly. But despite that, Suspiria really stands out. It marks a hugely significant moment, not just for him, but for horror cinema overall.
That's true. When you look at those best horror films ever lists, you expect, obviously, The Shining or maybe The Exorcist. They're always up there.
Sure, the big ones.
But you scroll down a little, and Suspiria is almost always there. It pops up constantly in studies about horror. It's definitely cemented itself as a genre landmark.
And that's what's so interesting, because even with all that recognition, it's difficult to say Suspiria is a film loved by everyone.
Understatement, maybe.
Maybe. It's incredibly polarizing. People seem to either absolutely adore it or find it just deeply off-putting.
Okay, so let's dive into that polarization. What is it about Argento's choices here, artistically or thematically, that really pushes some people away?
Well, there are a couple of main things, I think. First, just Argento's style. It's so distinctive. It just doesn't cater to every taste. He's deliberately doing something different.
Unconventional.
Very. And then you have those incredibly graphic, really bloody scenes, and they specifically target women, which frankly can challenge even people with strong stomachs.
And that distinctiveness, it really starts with his core idea, doesn't it? That the visuals could just completely take over from the story.
Precisely. In Suspiria, Argento fully commits to that. Visuals absolutely take precedence over narrative. It's like his guiding principle for this film.
Yeah, I was really struck by how little focus there seems to be on, a conventional plot. You get plot holes, gaps in logic. The dialogue is sometimes pretty weak. It all just follows so intensely, one thing after another, that it almost feels like the film is actively telling you, hey, focus only on the visuals.
Yeah, forget the story for a minute.
Right. It's like this profound statement about how horror can work, almost like a waking nightmare, not a coherent story. And, in doing that, in using all his skill to evoke fear and enhance the style through visuals, he's undeniably successful. It works on that level.
Oh, absolutely. And Suspiria is probably one of the most complete examples of this whole approach in Argento's entire career. The actual story, if you break it down, it's almost like those spooky tales teenagers tell at sleepovers or campfires,
Yeah, to scare each other.
Right. The kind where things just got a bit out of hand and turned completely absurd.
And it seems clear that Argento and Dario Nicolodi, who co-wrote, they spent way more time crafting the film's look and feel with the crew
Definitely.
than they did on the actual script, which itself was adapted from Thomas de Quincey's Suspiria de Profundis.
That's right.
And the result is this visual impact that's just, hard to forget once you've seen it.
Truly unforgettable.
So how exactly does he do it? How does Argento turn these elements, the sets, the light, the sound, into these incredibly potent tools for creating fear? What's the secret sauce there?
Oh, well, that's where the real craft is, isn't it? Let's break down those specific elements. First, the set design. Think about that building at the very start, and then the dance academy itself. The sets could honestly rival the best Gothic horror film.
Oh, completely. And it's not just the buildings as a whole. It's the details. The architecture feels so immersive. You've got those almost oppressive stained glass ceilings,
Mm-hmm.
these narrow, winding corridors, doors that seem weirdly elongated, distorting things, imposing staircases, incredibly high ceilings. They just suck you into this strange, suffocating world right away.
Exactly. And then you layer on top of that Luciano Tovoli's cinematography, which feels, well, suffocating is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Then there's the original score, composed by the band Goblin, with Argento collaborating. And honestly, that soundtrack, it could easily be called one of the scariest soundtracks ever written for horror.
It really is unsettling.
And then the lighting. The striking, sometimes almost violent use of primary colors, especially red and blue. It all just combines to create, well, maybe the most terrifying 97 minutes you'll spend watching a movie.
You can almost feel your heart rate go up just hearing the score, can't you?
Yeah.
Even people who, scoff at horror films say they never get scared.
Mm-hmm.
They might find themselves shifting in their seat, noticing their palms are sweating right from the opening credits. And that music is a huge part of it.
A massive part.
It's also really hard to shake off that feeling, that dread, until the very end, when that final message just pops up. You have watched Suspiria.
Yeah.
Okay, you survived it.
Yeah, it's an experience. And while that atmosphere definitely feels gothic, Suspiria also fits pretty neatly into the giallo genre.
Right, giallo. Can you quickly explain that for listeners who might not know the term?
Sure, giallo just means yellow in Italian. It refers to the yellow covers of those old pulp crime novels. And in film, it became this genre known for stylish, often quite violent thrillers. They blend horror, mystery, and this really distinct visual flair. Think vibrant colors, psychological tension, often a killer in black gloves, that kind of thing.
Got it.
Suspiria basically takes those stylistic bits and just cranks them up, turning them into something really unique and terrifying.
But this visual style, this aesthetic approach to terror and violence, it also brings us right to the most contentious part of Argento's legacy, doesn't it? The really complex, often disturbing portrayal of women in his films.
Yeah, you can't really talk about Argento without addressing it.
It's impossible not to, especially with the murders depicted. Argento himself, he doesn't exactly shy away from graphically showing mutilation, brutalization, even sexual violence, often against conventionally beautiful women.
No, he doesn't. And he's been quite, let's say, open and definitely controversial about his views on it. There's that famous quote from Dario Argento where he basically said, "I like women, especially the beautiful ones. If their faces and bodies are attractive, I prefer to watch them being killed rather than men."
Wow.
And he goes on, "I don't need to explain or justify this, and I don't care how people interpret or react to it. Some journalists have even walked out of interviews when I expressed this view."
Yeah, hearing that and then seeing the films, it's maybe not surprising that his work has so often been labeled misogynistic by critics. What are the main arguments they use to back that claim up?
Well, the criticisms tend to focus on a few key things. Firstly, female characters just frequently end up subjected to extreme violence, death, and objectification. It's a recurring pattern.
Okay.
Then there's the way the murders of women are portrayed, often highly stylized, almost aestheticized, made to look, in a disturbing way, beautiful or visually striking.
Right, the visual focus again, but applied to violence.
Exactly. Critics also point to his common use of the camera from the killer's point of view. They argue this invites the audience, especially male viewers, to identify with the killer. It's a classic example of what Laura Mulvey called the male gaze, right?
Where the female body is presented primarily for male viewing pleasure.
Precisely. And added to that is the way female characters are often shown as passive, helpless, or irrational. Plus, Argento's own comments, like the one I mentioned, about women being more beautiful when they die, it all fuels these criticisms.
So looking at it from, say, a psychoanalytic perspective, it's not just what we see, but what those images might represent underneath.
Exactly. From that angle, the argument is that women in Argento's films aren't just victims. They're also often shown as mysterious, threatening, even destructive figures themselves.
Okay.
Which suggests that in the world of his films, women aren't really autonomous beings, but maybe represent some kind of threat that needs to be suppressed or destroyed.
I see.
And these ideas, when you analyze them using theories like Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory, which we just mentioned, and also Barbara Creed's concept of the monstrous feminine, well, they offer a pretty strong framework for that critical view of Argento's films as containing misogynistic elements.
Can you briefly explain the monstrous feminine?
Sure. Barbara Creed's idea basically explores how female characters in horror are often depicted as both alluring and terrifying. They embody this kind of primal, often abject threat, something that repulses and fascinates, which challenges male control or order.
Okay, got it.
So both Mulvey's and Creed's theories provide ways to understand that critical perspective on Argento. And just to be clear, we're reporting on these different perspectives and arguments from the source material here, not endorsing any one side ourselves.
Right. Important distinction. So, wow, we've taken a pretty deep dive into Suspiria, a film that, undoubtedly dazzles with its visuals, its atmosphere. It's clearly cemented its unique place in horror history.
Yeah, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We've also had to confront this really complex, really challenging debate around Argento's portrayal of women. And those very real criticisms of misogyny against his work, it forces you to look much deeper than just the surface style.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for you, the viewer, thinking about this? As you consider Suspiria's, well, undeniable artistic achievements on one hand, and its deeply controversial aspects on the other, how do you weigh that? How do you balance the impact of its visual mastery against the really unsettling themes it explores?
It's tough.
It really raises that big question, doesn't it? Can art be both groundbreaking, technically brilliant, and also profoundly problematic at the exact same time? And if it can, how do we, as viewers, engage with that?
Yeah.
How do we navigate that duality in how we watch and interpret these things? It's a tension Suspiria, almost seems designed to provoke, leave you grappling with that discomfort, long after the credits finally roll.